come into this before we go to a break?
So actually I'll start with a question and I'll talk about the process later. So I sit on a number of appointment panels. So basically councillors and the mayor are involved in sort of the process of basically picking sort of the next group of sort of leaders or sort of interview panels. So we have people applying for jobs at a senior level, and I'm on the panel of people that review the CVs that we get and then basically then do the interview at the end. And one of the things that's really struck me over the years, even though we are very keen to recruit people of BME origin, and in fact, the latest appointment panel I was on ended up actually picking somebody originally from Africa, actually into an educational role. But one of the things that's really struck me over the years is how rare it is to get any existing Tower Hamlets Council or partner organisation employees applying for these jobs. I can think of only 2 occasions in 7 years where I've sat an interview panel where there's been at least one person who's actually applied for one of the senior jobs that's going. And do you have, an answer as to why so few people are applying or getting through? Or is it just people aren't applying because they don't feel confident in the process, or they just don't feel encouraged to apply?
Well, it's a mixture of various things, really, because I'll be honest with you, when I applied for a senior role, I was thinking, I'm just going to apply, see what happens. And true to word, it happened. I was the only one excluded from the whole process, and I was the only person of color from the whole process. So these are the things that people see, and people think, what is the point? Why am I going to put myself through all that hassle and then be rejected? Because we know, I could tell you before the interview who was going to get the job, because that's how obvious it was. And within the education system, this is how obvious it is. When people get appointed, it's people who they know, it's people who they prep behind the scene. Like the whole process of interview and so on, it's all about transparency and showing that we are going through the processes and due diligence and all of that stuff. But what you don't know is what happens behind the scenes. And there's a whole network of things that are happening. People are prepping themselves through people they know within the committee. I'm not saying you do this, Andrew, but it happens all the time. There's networks of people behind the scenes on WhatsApp group. They sort of push people forward, and those are the people who end up getting the job. An experienced person, a person of responsibility in a position of authority to make decisions to benefit that community that you're standing in. So, and also make visibility of these people more prominent within the community, because at the moment, if there aren't many people who are in positions of authority, we don't really see them much. And as Kamala Harris said many months ago, you can't be what you can't see, and this is the problem we have.
Cool.
No, I think it's very interesting what you said about sort of targets, because one of the things I like to do with council documents is to see how often some words appear or don't appear. And it's very interesting, actually, the word target appears 48 times in the 54 pages, but I can't see any actual targets. It just says the word target without any actual targets, which means therefore it's very difficult to track the performance. And I came back to what I was saying earlier about the appointments process. It's not a terrible process, because one of the things we're very keen on as councillors is
you still assess the applications on a merit-based system, but what you're doing is you're admitting as an employer that because of societal structures, certain groups are disadvantaged. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to mitigate those disadvantages so everybody has an equal shot at those jobs, etc. So there is, and recently they said that we want 100 officers at a senior level from a BME background. So they actually got a target that they're going to measure in. And then they have senior officers who are in charge of each aspect of the target. So we know which officer, divisional director is in charge of that, and the reporting structure as well. And each of them have bullet point targets, like phase 1, we're going to do this and that. So it's very well thought out, like a proper plan, but it seems nothing like that exists in Tower Hamlets or has been produced off the back of